Hey guys, Spudknocker here, as always, and today I thought we'd hop back into the A-18C Hornet and take a look at the new air-to-ground radar modes and how to use them in conjunction with the new way to use the targeting pod to find and attack targets. Now these two systems can be used in conjunction with each other to find targets and attack those targets very efficiently. However, just as in real life, I believe that the air-to-ground radar in the F-18 is going to be one of the least used systems in the F-18 to actually find and attack ground targets. This is simply because on the modern battlefield, it's very easy to generate coordinates anywhere on Earth, plop those coordinates into your INS system of your F-18, do a waypoint designate, and slew your targeting pod right on top of that point, no problem. This is true in DCS as well, as we can very easily generate coordinates from the F10 map here in DCS, and that can very easily allow you to just pick a point on the Earth somewhere, slew your targeting pod to it right away, and there you go, there's your target, and you're good to go. However, the air-to-ground radar and its inclusion in DCS world has been something that players have been looking forward to for a very long time, and it brings us one step closer to a fully realized and complete model of the F-18C Hornet here in DCS world. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the office and get started. Alrighty, so here we are in the F-18. So let's go over a few kind of scenarios in which you may actually want to use the air-to-ground radar to actually find and attack targets. So this might be if you, for some reason, GPS or the F10 map is not available to you, such as if you're flying on the red side in an F-18 Hornet and the unrestricted sat-nav is turned off, or for some reason in the mission you're flying, the F10 map is not viewable to you, such as in the mission options, the F10 map is disabled, and so you need to actually find a place to actually slew your targeting pod to and find your targets that you're going to hit. So let's go ahead and bring our aircraft on over towards Bandar Abbas. We're going to kick off the autopilot. When you're practicing using the air-to-ground radar, I very much recommend you go to a geographical area that is very familiar to you. You know where things are, you know what things look like on the ground, and for me, the Strait of Hormuz is definitely one of those very easily recognizable areas and very easily memorable areas in terms of its geography. And so we can see that we've got the Omani Peninsula sticking out off to our left here with Kasab down there, and of course we've got Larak Island, Keshem Island, and Hormuz Island out at our 12 o'clock, and beyond those islands is going to be the city of Bandar Abbas in Iran. So we do have a couple Islamic Republic of Iran Air Force C-130s hanging out on the ramp area of Bandar Abbas for us to attack, and in this situation, we don't have a waypoint lined up on top of Bandar Abbas International Airport or the city or anywhere in the vicinity of it, so we can't simply just hit waypoint designate and slew our targeting pod right to it right away. So we're going to have to actually designate a target point with our air-to-ground radar down here and go for it that way. So we'll go ahead and throw the autopilot back on. And we'll throw on the auto throttles as well, just to help us out and decrease our workload as much as possible. I also recommend that you, when you're working down inside the cockpit, you turn off the HMD. Your joint helmet mounted queuing system is just going to dazzle you and get in the way when you're trying to work inside the cockpit a lot, as we're going to be doing here. We've got air-to-ground master mode selected, so why don't we go ahead and turn on our laser designator, or arm our laser designator. We'll hit 83G for our GBU-16s that we have two on the inboard pylons, and see them right there. And we'll go ahead and input the laser code that we're going to use, 1688, just the standard default laser code. We'll make sure that we have the electronic fuse set to instant to get rid of our dud queue and ensure that our weapon will actually explode upon impact. And we'll go ahead and zoom on in to our air-to-ground radar display. And what we can see here is just a representation of what we can see out in front of us. We've got Larak Island, we've got Hormuz Island, and we've got Keshem Island. Very easily recognizable features that we know very well from flying over the Strait of Hormuz for so long now and enjoying this map so much. But we can also see in this bright white area, the area that is Bandar Abbas. So the areas that are white have higher radar returns than the areas that are black, like water. the areas that are black up here, which are the shadow behind mountains in which the radar waves and radar energy cannot return from because they're being blocked by those mountains. And so as a result of that, we can get kind of an idea of the topography in front of us. We got the city of Bandar Abbas, lots of man-made flat structures with flat faces to bounce radar returns right back to us, like buildings, streets, cars, trucks, things like that. We've got the little rolling hills that we can see on Larak Island out in front of us. We can see the tall mountains that are arrayed out to the north of Bandar Abbas, and all these things that we know very well and we can recognize from the map, whether it's the F10 map, looking outside the cockpit, and then finally looking inside the cockpit here. We can see also these lighter white returns on the radar, also smaller settlements, such as Havadaria and the port of Havadaria to the west of Bandar Abbas. And we know from experience and looking at the F10 map that Bandar Abbas International Airport is on the eastern edge of Bandar Abbas city proper. So we'll go ahead and go sensor select switch right, and we'll bring our TDC cursor to the very, very eastern edge of Bandar Abbas city proper, and we'll hit TDC depress. And when that TDC depresses, we selected a target, and it automatically reduced the range of our radar display here to give us a better resolution on that target. So I'm actually going to go ahead and deselect that target and reacquire the target with my TDC. My first time through this didn't work so well, so we'll try it again. And that's going to be a better target for us, getting us right on top of Bandar Abbas. We'll check our HUD here, make sure we're not drifting too far away. So that's pretty good. It's about 30 degrees or so off our nose. And we can see as we get closer and closer to Larak Island, as well as Keshem Island here, things are looking a lot more clear down there. We can really make out the topography very well. And when we get the expand 1, 2, and 3 modes, we'll be able to zoom our radar display in on those different areas and get a much, much better idea of the topography and get a much higher fidelity view of the topography and what's on the ground out there once we get closer to it. So right now we have to be right on top of Larak Island to get that very high definition picture. So we'll go ahead and bring the jet. We'll bank the jet right and bring us out towards our fall line, which is going to line us right up with the point that we designated on the radar display. Next, we'll go ahead and bring up our FLIR page, and we can see that our FLIR is designated right on top of Bandar Abbas International Airport. Perfect, right? So we'll go ahead and go into FLIR mode, and we will go ahead and swap these. We no longer need our air-to-ground radar display, so we'll bring our FLIR off to our right, sensor select switch right again to designate our TDC to the right-hand DDI. We'll go to the stores page. Everything's ready with that weapon to be released, and we'll go ahead and zoom in the FOV. We can see some C-130s on the ramp down there. Should help us out. And we'll go ahead and zoom on in. And we'll go ahead and do TDC depress once again to update the target point that we have our mission computer calculating a CCRP drop on. This is a very important step. Otherwise, if you come out of point track or area track mode, it will automatically slew the targeting pod right back to that point we actually designated with our air-to-ground radar, which can be very confusing and kind of baffle you as to why your targeting pod jumped so quickly. So just make sure that you do, in fact, depress that TDC once again to designate your new point you're looking at. And we'll go sensor select switch right to area track, and we'll go right once again for a point track. And kind of play around. We can, with the CCD camera, we can check the roundels and markings on that C-130 down there, and we can in fact verify that it is a IRI AF C-130. Means it's a bad guy and means it's a valid target. So we'll go ahead and continue on and drop on this guy. Wanted to make sure that that C-130 wasn't in fact marked as a UN peacekeeping, delivering humanitarian supplies, that kind of stuff, which would make it a non-valid target. However, I do suspect that the Iranians would be sneaky enough to repaint some of their C-130s in a time of need to fool pilots like myself. We can also see the new attitude director indicator giving us a fall line as well as a attitude and roll indicator on the FLIR page itself. Very, very helpful and useful for when you're very heads down in the cockpit, trying to queue up a target. And we got the fall line coming down. We can see it on both the FLIR page as well as on our HUD. We have a weapon away. We're going to wait just a few seconds here. We'll start zooming in out the pod. I like to laze a little bit early just to ensure that my bomb is going to find the laser. I know that some people say that is bad form, but oh well. We'll bring it back to CCD mode so we can see the impact without blooming out the IR camera with the large amount of heat from the explosion. And kaboom. One dead C-130. So, it is just as easy as that, fellas, to actually use the air-to-ground radar to find a point on the ground, like Bandar Abbas International Airport, and then slew and slave your targeting pod right to it. Then slew your targeting pod away from that slaved point. Pressing the TDC to press once again to pick a new targeting point for which the mission computer, the jet, is going to calculate a new CCRP drop from. And then you'd be good to go, man. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. Don't think you're going to be using the air-to-ground radar at this point without Expand 1, 2, or 3 to be able to find, say, a column of tanks or a convoy of trucks on the ground. The resolution is not that high, and you're going to be very frustrated if you try to do that. What this is really for and geared towards at the moment is for ground mapping. And so finding areas like Bandar Abbas Airport and realizing that Bandar Abbas International down there is on that eastern side of the city, going on down, selecting that point, slaving your targeting pod to it, slewing from there to find your target, and you're good to go. So, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope this clears up some things and just gives you kind of a cool little demonstration and something hopefully a little entertaining here with some nice sunset to mask the issues with the in-cockpit lighting at the moment. So, thanks a lot, guys, and fly safe.